Mara stood near the edge of the city where the road met the bus station, and the noise never fully stopped. She held a worn bag on her shoulder and kept her other hand wrapped around her son Leo's hand. Leo was small and quiet, and his eyes followed every moving thing with careful curiosity. Mara had learned how to stand without showing fear even when her feet ached and her heart felt heavy. She once believed life would stay simple and steady. There was a time when she had a home with a small kitchen and a window that caught the morning sun. That life slowly slipped away after loss came and bills grew and help never arrived. Mara did not complain because she believed complaining wasted strength. Each day she woke before sunrise and searched for work wherever she could. Some days people listened, and some days people turned away. She never let Leo see the disappointment in her eyes. She always told him stories about better days coming soon. Leo believed her because children trust hope more easily than truth. At night he asked questions about the future, and Mara answered with calm words. She promised that one day they would not sleep on benches or borrowed floors. She promised that one day he would have a room of his own. One afternoon as clouds gathered low, a woman approached Mara near the station. The woman wore a neat coat and carried a folder close to her chest. She spoke gently and asked Mara's name as if confirming something important. Mara hesitated but answered because kindness still deserved respect. The woman explained she worked for a legal office and had searched for Mara for a long time. Mara felt confusion rise because no one searched for her anymore. She wondered if this was a mistake or a cruel joke. The woman looked serious and patient and asked if Mara's grandmother had once lived near the sea. That question stirred memories Mara had kept buried. She remembered a quiet old house with open windows and the sound of waves. She remembered her grandmother's hands always smelling of salt and ink. They had lost touch after Mara moved away chasing work and stability. The woman told her that her grandmother had passed away quietly. Mara felt a strange ache because grief arrived late and uninvited. She wished she had written more letters or made more calls. Life had moved too fast for regret to catch up. The woman handed Mara an envelope sealed carefully. Inside was a letter written in slow, steady handwriting. Mara recognized it immediately and felt her chest tighten. She stepped aside and read while Leo stood close watching her face. The letter spoke of love and distance and unfinished words. It said Mara was the last of the family line. It spoke of something protected and hidden for many years. It said the time had come for Mara to know the truth. Mara expected the letter to end there with memories and apologies. Instead it spoke of land surrounded by water and silence. The woman softly explained that Mara had inherited an island. The words felt unreal and heavy at the same time. Mara asked many questions but answers felt incomplete. The island was small but untouched by time. It had been in the family for generations. Taxes had been paid without explanation or complaint. The woman said the grandmother insisted Mara must go herself. No sale could happen until she visited the island. No records explained why secrecy mattered so much. The grandmother had carried something she never shared. Leo tugged Mara's sleeve and asked if islands had animals. Mara nodded slowly while trying to steady her breathing. She felt fear and hope mixing together. Both felt dangerous when life had taught her caution. That night Mara and Leo stayed in a small shelter room. Mara reread the letter many times under dim light. Each sentence felt like a door half opened. She sensed the island was more than land. She remembered her grandmother's warnings about truth and patience. The old woman used to say some things grow stronger when hidden. Mara never understood those words until now. The weight of them pressed into her thoughts. The next morning the legal woman returned with documents. She explained the journey would take time and effort. A small boat would carry Mara to the island. Everything else would depend on what she discovered there. Mara signed the papers with trembling hands. She knew turning away would be easier. But easier had never changed her life before. She looked at Leo and made her decision. They traveled by bus and then by ferry. Leo pressed his face to the window watching water stretch endlessly. Mara watched the horizon, feeling something shift inside her. The city noise slowly disappeared behind them. When they reached the dock, the air smelled clean and sharp. A quiet boat waited, as if expecting them. The driver said little and helped them aboard. The water carried them forward without resistance. As the island appeared in the distance, Mara's heart raced. Tall trees rose against the sky and shadows moved along the shore. It looked untouched and watchful, almost as if it remembered her. Mara held Leo close as the boat slowed. She felt that whatever waited there would change everything. Her grandmother's secret was no longer buried. The island was ready to speak. The boat touched the shore gently, and the sound felt softer than Mara expected. She stepped onto the sand with Leo close beside her and felt the ground firm under her feet. The island air felt different from the city air because it carried calm instead of rush. Tall trees surrounded the beach, and their leaves moved slowly like they were breathing. Mara looked around and tried to understand why her grandmother guarded this place so closely. There were no signs of people and no broken paths. Everything looked clean and untouched. It felt like the island was waiting rather than sleeping. Leo pointed toward the trees and smiled with excitement. He asked if they could explore, and Mara nodded carefully. She reminded him to stay close and walk slowly. Her heart beat fast but not with fear. They followed a narrow path that led away from the shore. The ground was soft and covered with fallen leaves. Sunlight filtered through branches and painted patterns on the path. Mara felt memories she did not recognize stirring inside her. After walking for some time, they reached a small wooden house. It stood quietly among the trees, as if it had always been there. The roof was old but strong, and the walls showed care, not neglect. Mara felt a strange comfort when she saw it. The door opened with a gentle push, and did not resist her touch. Inside the house was clean and simple. There was a table, a chair, and shelves filled with books and journals. Everything smelled faintly of wood and sea air. Leo ran his fingers along the table and laughed softly. He said it felt like someone still lived there. Mara agreed because the place did not feel abandoned. It felt paused in time. Mara noticed a small box resting on the table. On top of it was a folded note with her name written carefully. Her hands shook as she picked it up. The handwriting matched the letter she had read before. The note said the island would reveal its truth slowly. It said patience was the key to understanding. It warned her not to rush or judge too quickly. Mara took a deep breath and opened the box. Inside was an old journal bound with faded cloth. The first page held her grandmother's name written firmly. Mara sat down and began to read quietly. Leo sat beside her listening without asking questions. The journal spoke of the island history in careful words. It described how the land once helped many people quietly. It spoke of refuge and healing and second chances. The grandmother believed some places were meant to protect hope. Mara learned that the island had once sheltered families in need. People arrived broken and left stronger. No money was ever asked. Only respect and silence were required. The journal explained why secrecy mattered. The grandmother feared the world would take and destroy the island. She protected it by hiding it in plain sight. She trusted only family to continue its purpose. Mara felt tears build, but she did not let them fall. She realized this place was not a gift of wealth. It was a responsibility. A chance to offer others what she once needed. Leo asked why the words made her quiet. Mara smiled gently and told him the island was special. She said it helped people who felt lost. Leo nodded like he understood more than she expected. They explored the house together. In the back room they found blankets and supplies neatly stored. Everything was ready as if someone planned for their arrival. Mara felt guided rather than alone. Outside the house the path continued deeper into the island. Mara decided to follow it before night arrived. She packed some food and water and held Leo's hand firmly. The trees seemed to open as they walked forward. They reached a clearing where the land opened wide. In the center stood a stone circle worn smooth by time. Mara felt a calm settle over her. She sensed this place held many untold stories. The journal pages echoed in her thoughts. Her grandmother believed kindness could survive quietly. The island was proof of that belief. Mara wondered if she was strong enough to continue it. As the sun lowered, the sky turned warm and golden. Mara and Leo returned to the house. They shared a simple meal and spoke little. Both felt the day had changed them. That night Mara lay awake listening to the island sounds. The wind moved gently and waves whispered in the distance. She felt safe in a way she had not felt in years. For the first time hope felt steady, not fragile. She understood now why her grandmother waited until the end. Some truths required readiness, not age. Mara had lived loss and struggle. She was ready to understand purpose. The island had already begun its work. It had given Mara dignity without pity. It had given Leo wonder without fear. And it had given them both a future shaped by meaning. As sleep finally came, Mara promised herself one thing. She would honor the secret she inherited. She would protect the island and its purpose. And she would let it change lives quietly, just as it changed hers. Morning arrived slowly on the island, and light filtered through the trees like a gentle greeting. Mara woke before Leo and stepped outside the house to breathe the fresh air. The sea stretched wide and calm, as if watching her quietly. She felt a sense of duty growing inside her chest. She remembered the journal words and understood they were not just memories. They were instructions written through time. Her grandmother trusted her to listen and continue. Mara felt both honored and afraid. Leo soon joined her with sleep still in his eyes. He asked if the island would stay their home. Mara knelt and told him the island was more than a home. It was a place meant to help others heal. They spent the morning exploring deeper parts of the island. Paths appeared naturally, as if guiding their steps. They found fresh water flowing gently between rocks. They found fruit trees heavy with color and life. Mara realized the island could sustain people without harm. Everything felt balanced and thoughtful. Nothing felt wasted or damaged. Her grandmother had cared for this place with patience. As they walked, Mara noticed old markers near certain trees. Each marker had symbols carved carefully. They matched drawings from the journal pages. The island history was written on the land itself. Later that day, a small boat appeared near the shore. Mara felt her heart tighten at the sight. She wondered who would come to such a hidden place. She stood still and watched carefully. A woman stepped onto the sand looking tired and uncertain. She carried a bag and wore worry on her face. She looked around as if unsure she belonged. Mara approached slowly without fear. The woman introduced herself as Nina. She said she had been told this island offered rest. She said someone on the mainland whispered its name. She said she had nothing left to lose. Mara listened carefully and felt the truth in her voice. She remembered her own days of standing unnoticed. She welcomed Nina with calm respect. Leo smiled shyly and offered water. Nina rested and shared her story quietly. She had lost work and direction. She felt invisible and tired of asking for help. The island wrapped her in silence and peace. That night Nina slept deeply for the first time in months. Mara watched her and understood the island purpose clearly now. It was not about hiding from the world. It was about restoring strength to face it again. Over the next days more people arrived quietly. Each came with the same uncertain hope. Each carried stories of struggle and exhaustion. Mara welcomed them without judgment. She organized simple tasks and shared food. Everyone helped according to their ability. No one felt forced or pressured. The island encouraged cooperation naturally. Mara read more from the journal each night. She learned how her grandmother guided people gently. She never promised miracles. She only offered space to breathe and rebuild. Leo grew curious and observant among the visitors. He listened to stories and asked gentle questions. He learned kindness without lessons. The island taught him silently. One evening Mara discovered a hidden room beneath the house. The entrance was concealed under wooden boards. Inside were records and letters written over decades. They documented lives changed quietly. Mara read names and notes of gratitude. People left stronger than they arrived. They rebuilt lives elsewhere with renewed purpose. The island never asked to be remembered. Mara felt overwhelmed by the responsibility. She wondered if she could carry this alone. The journal answered her doubts softly. It reminded her that kindness grows when shared. Mara spoke with the visitors openly. She explained the island mission honestly. She asked for respect and silence. They agreed without hesitation. The island began to feel alive with gentle purpose. Laughter returned in small moments. People helped each other without reward. Mara watched hope take shape quietly. One afternoon Mara stood at the stone circle again. She felt her grandmother's presence in the stillness. She whispered gratitude into the air. She promised to protect what mattered. Leo held her hand and asked if his grandmother was proud. Mara smiled and said she believed so. She felt strength she never knew before. The island had changed her deeply. As the sun set each night Mara felt certain of one thing. Her life had purpose beyond survival. The island's secret was no longer a burden. It was a shared light growing stronger with care. She knew challenges would come in time. But she also knew she was ready. The grandmother trust had been well placed. The island had chosen its new guardian wisely. The mornings on the island became warmer and calmer as the days passed, and Mara woke early feeling the sun touch her face, and the wind carry fresh scents from the sea, and the trees seemed to whisper quietly around her as if welcoming her to continue her grandmother work, and she walked slowly toward the stone circle feeling the ground firm under her feet, and Leo ran ahead laughing softly while the sound mixed with the waves. Mara realized that the island was more than a place, it was alive with quiet purpose, and every plant and stone and path felt guided by her grandmother's hands, and she felt a deep connection, as if the past and present met here, and she breathed slowly to absorb the calm and strength the island offered, and she held Leo's hand tightly as they walked toward the back of the house where new plants had started growing from seeds left long ago. The visitors arrived slowly as word reached them of a safe place where care and patience existed, and they came without expectation, and Mara greeted them quietly, and offered simple food and places to rest, and Leo played with the children, and Mara watched with gentle pride as small bonds began to form, and she felt the island teaching again without words, and everyone seemed to breathe easier as the island accepted them without question. One afternoon Mara found a hidden path along the cliffs that overlooked the sea, and she followed it carefully while Leo stayed close, and the path twisted and turned through trees and moss and finally opened onto a high ledge where the wind rushed and the waves crashed below, and she felt small yet strong, and she understood why her grandmother often came here to think and plan, and she looked out across the endless water and imagined all the lives the island had touched. Quietly, over the years, Mara carried her journal and read aloud to herself passages that reminded her of patience and kindness, and she thought about all the people who had arrived and how they were finding strength without realizing it, and she understood that the island did not heal by force, it healed by waiting and giving space, and she felt a smile form even as tears threatened because she finally understood the gift fully. The island continued to give more than she expected, and each day brought new challenges and small triumphs, and Mara learned to trust her instincts and the advice left by her grandmother, and she taught the visitors to care for each other and for the land without being asked, and slowly routines formed naturally, and Leo helped as well by handing small tools and collecting fruits and watching with curiosity as everyone worked together peacefully. One evening Mara discovered another secret room beneath the house, and this one was smaller and darker, but filled with more journals and maps and letters that showed plans for future care and instructions on how to keep the island safe and private, and she felt her grandmother's wisdom flow through her as she read each line, and she understood that she was not alone and that many hands had kept the island alive for decades, and now it was her turn. As weeks passed, Mara began organizing small projects like planting new fruit trees and building benches and paths that guided visitors safely, and she noticed how each person arrived broken but slowly began to smile and talk and share, and she realized that the island work was never finished, and it never would be, but that was part of its beauty, and she felt peace knowing that she could continue this quietly meaningful work and teach Leo along the way. One night a storm arrived and rain fell hard and wind shook the house and trees swayed violently, but Mara stayed calm and held Leo close as the visitors took shelter inside, and she felt the power of nature around them and the strength of the island beneath them, and she thought about her grandmother who had survived similar storms and protected this land for decades, and Mara realized that she too was part of that lineage of care and courage. The next morning the sun rose bright and clear, and Mara walked along the shore with Leo, picking up shells and stones and noticing small crabs and birds that had survived the storm, and she laughed softly when Leo tried to balance stones into towers, and she realized how simple moments held as much meaning as larger work, and she felt gratitude for the small and large gifts the island had given them, and she knew they were exactly where they were meant to be. The days turned into weeks, and Mara began writing her own notes in the journal beside her grandmother's writings, and she documented observations and stories of the visitors and small victories, and how the land responded to care, and she included Leo drawings and descriptions because she knew every detail mattered, and one day these records would help someone else understand and care for the island, and she felt her grandmother's spirit guiding her hand as she wrote. Visitors learned to listen to the island as well, and some stayed longer, and some returned to the world but carried strength in their hearts, and Mara noticed subtle changes in them like confidence and hope and laughter returning, and she felt proud without pride because she knew it was not her alone but the island itself that healed and transformed quietly, and she realized that this work was her purpose and gift and burden and joy all at once. One afternoon Leo asked about the hidden treasures his grandmother had mentioned in stories, and Mara smiled and explained that the treasure was not gold or silver but the island itself, and the peace it offered, and the chance to rebuild and help others, and Leo nodded slowly as if understanding, and they walked together along the paths noticing plants and rocks and birds, and she realized that teaching him these lessons was as important as caring for the island itself, and that the legacy would continue. Mara continued to explore every corner of the island, discovering small gardens and hidden benches and secret spots where her grandmother had written notes and left reminders, and she felt the island breathing beneath her feet, and she understood fully the importance of patience and quiet action, and she knew that every visitor who arrived would take away something meaningful, and she felt a deep sense of fulfillment and calm she had not known in her past struggles. The sun set one evening, painting the sky with gold and pink, and Mara stood on the shore with Leo beside her, and watched the light reflect on the waves, and she thought about the journey from city streets to this quiet place, and all that had changed inside her and Leo and the visitors, and she whispered thanks to her grandmother for the trust left in her hands, and she promised silently to protect and honor the island, and she knew that this promise would guide every step forward. As night fell, the island seemed to glow softly under moonlight, and Mara and Leo returned to the house to rest, and she felt the gentle rhythm of life here, and the peace of purpose and the quiet joy of seeing the island work and change lives slowly and surely, and she knew that each day would bring challenges and lessons and small victories, and that they were part of a story larger than themselves, and she felt ready to continue as her grandmother had intended, and she slept with a sense of calm and hope for all that was yet to come.